We talked about the meat of the cases yesterday on the broadcast. Now we're seeing the reaction from President Biden, from senators, from House members on the Democrat side.
You read John Roberts' opinion in the cases involving like the disclosure issue of donors, and he writes, "Our cases have said that disclosures can chill association, even if there's no disclosure to the general public." He's then said, while assurance of confidentiality may reduce the burden of disclosure to the state, they do not eliminate it. So this is the idea of anonymous pamphleteering as old as our constitutional republic. They're using that language, which is, by the way, been in Supreme Court precedent for decades, going all the way back to the NAACP cases, NAACP versus Button, NAACP versus Flowers, where they established that important principle of that you don't have to disclose who you are in association with, who you're supporting or donating to, especially now in this cancel culture. But what's the irony of this is immediately they turn that into, we must expand the Supreme Court.
President Biden has said the court's decisions, harmful as is, does not limit Congress' ability to repair the damage done today. It puts the burden back on Congress to restore the Voting Rights Act to its intended strength. What does he mean by that? The For the People Act, H.R. 1 or S.R. 1, and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. One, because they want to reinstate pre-clearance for those states of particular concern that the Voting Rights Act used to govern until 2013. That was one Supreme Court case where the court said no more of this pre-clearance for these states. They've been going through it enough. There's a certain time for this to end. And then after yesterday's decision, so they want to add in pre-clearance again, and after yesterday's decision as well, they want to really do away with states' abilities to set the rules of the game on their own. So again, when it goes back to the more liberal rules on ballot harvesting, they still want that federal takeover.
You got Ed Markey, Democrat from Massachusetts, saying today's vote is today's ruling is another vote for a blow to voting rights. And then, of course, he ends it with, we must expand the court. So, I mean, this is becoming the rallying cry for every decision that comes the wrong way or legislation not going through. This is what they're going to do.
The American people should now expect a tidal wave of incoherent nonsense from the Democrats in Washington, who will now claim that the Supreme Court is doing what? It's undermining our democracy, when the Supreme Court is doing no such thing.
The one branch of government they don't have full control over, the judicial branch, is the one that they, of course, have demonized now, which they have, and said that, now that's who they've got to deal with. And so we're going to change the makeup of the court. I mean, this is when your power is at its highest point politically, but it's still not enough for them.
It's interesting. Justice Ginsburg said 9 is the right number.
The number was set by the Judiciary Act of 1869 at 1 Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices. That has worked for a long time, and it has worked well. Even liberal justices recognize that is an appropriate number.
I do think we have to dispel kind of how big of a pipe dream is this for the Democrats. It does not take a constitutional amendment.
It only takes an act of Congress signed by a president to change that.
Everyone should know that Supreme Court judicial independence is now plainly at risk. Number two, I think everyone should note that the Democrats are opportunists.
You've got a court-packing commission going on right now.
The president's got a court-packing commission, and Jay, there's also a bill introduced in the House. I mean, it's not like we're making this up. Hank Johnson has the bill, and the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, is a co-sponsor. So, people like Bernie Sanders can say, well, I'm not for court-packing, but I do want to maybe look at the filibuster. Jay, those issues overlap. So Bernie Sanders is in league with this as well.
There is no doubt that they're using all of this. And every Supreme Court decision that comes out next term, Harry, that they don't like, is going to be the next basis for court packing and, also, doing away with the filibuster. That is what this play is.
They want nothing more than power. They do not care about principle. It's all about opportunism all the way down.
They're going to be pumping all of this up to the left going into the midterms. So they're looking for these cases, out of Georgia, out of Arizona. They're looking for reasons why to point to court packing. The idea that wasn't just about the confirmation of Justice Barrett. Now it's about they don't like the way the court's coming down on issues. And so, which, by the way, Justice Barrett or not, they would have lost both these cases.